Hello, it's Jason from Disney Infinity TV and ToyboxImagineer.com, and I've got another tutorial for you today. A really cool tutorial about using paths in a somewhat advanced way. I've set up a really basic sort of a dark ride type thing here, similar to the Indiana Jones ride. And what I'm going to show you today is how you can have random paths. So start on a single path and then randomly choose another path to go on. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so let's have a look at what I've done here. So this is my basic setup. All I've done is I've created a vehicle spawner. I've hooked that vehicle spawner up to a repeater that every 5 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds, I can't remember. Let's have a look just for continuity's sake. Every 4 seconds. So every 4 seconds it's spawning a train which is automatically attached to this path here, which goes all the way along here, rounds the corner, and again I sort of modeled this loosely off the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. And it's going to reach this point here, and I'm going to show you two methods of joining these paths. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to alternate between two paths. And using the method I show you, you can have as many paths as you want using the same system. But the basic concept here is we've got a single path, and then we're going to connect that path to these three paths. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to randomize it. So each time a train reaches this point, it's going to randomly choose path 1, 2, or 3, which obviously has many really great gameplay potentials for certain toy boxes that you might want to make. And it turns out it wasn't as easy as I was hoping it was going to be. So I thought, well, that makes this tutorial even the more handy. For those that don't know, and this is really basic, well, it's not basic, but you can connect paths directly just by going to the last node in a path. And I know this looks like it's connected, but it's not. This is the end of the path. If you go to the properties of the last node and go new logic connection and go point reached by object on path, so whatever that object is that's connected to the path, when it reaches that point, you can then go to the start of another path and select connect triggering actor to path. And so what that's going to basically do now is it's effectively treating this path here and this path on the left as a single path. But that's really basic. We want to make it a little bit more advanced than that. So let's delete that link now. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is use the old logic gate. That's right, the big path tool thought it was coming in here and being big boss, but no, the logic gate comes back with a vengeance and says, you ain't nothing without me, buddy. So let's go to Creativitoys and find the logic gate. And this is going to be a great refresher or new tutorial for you if you don't understand what the logic gate is. I've said it 100 times before. If you learn one toy in the toy box, you make sure you learn the logic gate. So I'm going to put the logic gate down here. Now, what's going to happen here is every time that the vehicle reaches this point, we actually want to send the logic to the thing, to this gate. And the property of the object seems to flow through the gate, which is going to allow us to connect it to either this path or this path. So what we need to do, so you just simply need to go to the path point, go new logic, point reached by object in path, go to the logic gate, and we want to send an input. Now with the logic gate, we want to go new logic connection. When it receives an input, we want it to send the output. We want it to connect to this path. Start connect triggering actor to path. Now with the same logic gate, and this is why we use it kind of like an if statement, we want to go new logic connection, input blocked, we want it to connect to this path. Connect triggering actor to path. Now the only other thing we need to do now is we need to create a trigger area And technically you should be able to do this with nodes because you can put logic on each of these path points, but I've found it pretty unreliable as far as it working is concerned. So I'm going to create two logic gates. It doesn't even, as long as it's the vehicle is going to touch it, it doesn't matter. So when the vehicle enters this, actually that might be a bit close because that might go into both. Let's move this one here a little bit closer. Like that, I feel. Yes, that'll do. We'll have to do a little bit more because this one's always going to register. So we need this one. It's effectively the single path. It needs to go new logic connection when entered by a vehicle. Now this is on. We want to close the gate. Close the gate. Okay, so now, so the vehicle's going to go through here. It's going to close the gate. So the next time the train hits this point, it's going to send the input block signal, and it's going to go down this path. So when the train hits this one, new logic entered vehicle, we want to open. Now I'll just test this because I'm not 100% sure. You might be able to think ahead, but sometimes it's just easier just to get the thing running and see if it works. But those logic gates may be counteracting each other, but we'll find out in a second. Let's turn on the vehicle. See what happens. So what we're expecting here, it's like a flip-flop on a flip-flop switch on a like on an actual train track. So we're expecting the train to go straight forward, and they're expecting this one to go to the left. Has it worked? Looks like it has. There you go. So that's going to continually alternate. One on the left, one on the right, one on the left, one on the right. So that's really great, and that's going to be great in some situations where you want to create that, but we want to look at how to do this in a random way. So let's go and turn the machine off. This is an excellent opportunity to explain something else too, and this just seems to be the way that the thing works. You'll notice what I've set up at the... See how that little spark animation is appearing? Each time on the green thing, what that is, on the back of the train here, when an object reaches the end of the path, I've put the defeat animation there so the object just deletes itself. Turns out when any action sort of happens, whether it's connecting to whether it's stopping or destroying, there seems to be a nanosecond, like a microsecond, where the vehicle will still spawn back at the start of the path, and that's what's happening there. The vehicle's spawning at the start of the path and then destroying itself. That's what that little animation is. Just a nice little thing to keep in mind, because sometimes you'll find that you'll pull your hair out working out what that is. Okay, so now we've basically got to set up a random situation. So let's get at the logic gate again. It's kind of essential, and this is actually going to take 6 logic gates, and I'll show you why first. Initially I was hoping that the randomizer itself might be able to handle the job, but if you go here, go new logic connection, point reached by object, and then go to the randomizer, go action, then new logic, random trigger 1, go to the path point. There's no option to connect to the path. So the randomizer doesn't allow for that action by default, which is really frustrating. But thankfully we have the logic gate to the rescue. So we need to place 3 logic gates. 1, 2, 3. And each of these logic gates we're going to connect to one of the paths. So this one, new logic connection, output. We want to connect triggering actor path to this path. This one, new logic, output. We want it to connect to this one. To path. This one, new logic, output. We want it to connect to this one. Okay, Now what we're going to do is we're going to send from this point here, new logic, point reached by object on path. We're going to send an input to each of the logic gates. Point reached by object on path, input. New logic, point reached by object on path. So what that's effectively going to do now is confuse the heck, and I'm guessing what will happen is that the last one will be the one that will work. It'll effectively get to this point, it'll go connect, 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 and then this one will be the final one, and it'll choose this path. So now what we need to do is set up another 3 logic gates, and these 3 logic gates are going to control which gate is open. So I've got to connect these up by simply going new logic connection, output. When this logic gate's selected, I want you to open this gate, and I want you to close the other gates. And effectively what that's doing is saying that when that logic gate is pressed, it is making only this logic gate valid, which means it's the only one that will actually, the signal will get through from the path, and it will make this path active. So I'm going to connect the rest of the gates doing the exact same thing. Output. This one now needs to be open, and the other 2 closed. New logic. Oh, sometimes you can be too quick for it in 3.0. Close. And this one, too fast. Output, open, new logic, output, close, new logic, output, close. Okay, so we've got our switch set up. Finally, we just need to put the randomizer down. New logic, random trigger 1, input, new logic, random trigger 2, input, new logic, random trigger 3. And now finally we need a trigger area to randomize that gate each time a vehicle goes through here. So I'm going to put that down. New logic, entered. So let's put on exited. Exited. Vehicle. We want you to choose a random gate to be open. And I think that's it. Let's go turn her on and see if it is randomly doing what we wanted it to do. Oh, actually, one last little thing. I don't think I hooked this up. No. Nice little other little feature is new logic, output. I hooked up a nice little effect to each of these gates. Play once. Fire, smoky flames. Just as a visual cue so that you know which gate that the randomizer has chosen. Play once. Fire, smoky flames. One more. New logic. Output. Fire, smoky flames. Alright, let's go turn this sucker on. Whoop, and see if it's doing what I wanted it to do. Turn the switch on. Here we go. There we go. Randomly choosing a path. Hasn't chosen the third path by chance yet. We'll keep going until it does, just to confirm that the third path is hooked up and working. Come on, choose the third path. I did hook that one up. I'm not crazy, right? It would appear that... There we go. So there you go. Proof that it's completely random. I think this is a really cool effect and it can be used in a multitude of ways. Obviously, it's great for dark rides because you can create a random experience. It doesn't have to be the entire ride. You can merge these three parts back into one, then then randomize it again. Obviously, the more randomness you have, like the more times your path splits throughout a toy box, the more combinations there could be, a la Star Tours the ride. But this is a really great way of using paths. And if you didn't know you could connect paths like this, I highly recommend doing it because you can make the paths a lot easier to work with because you don't get as many weird bends and curves, and the path won't disappear if you're working with a particularly long path. Okay, so maybe I'll do another video of that in the future of how to do really complex long paths. But until next time, I hope this random path connection will improve one of your toy boxes. Thank you very much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you do end up using this for a toy box, or hit me up on Twitter at @TheJasonHaynes so I can check out the box that you use this in. And make sure you subscribe to Dizzy Infinity TV right here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. You can check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv Dizzy Infinity TV, and for all other things, the podcast, check out ditv.co for our website. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.